Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back. So today I'm going to be working in one of the few remaining pages left in my 8x8 Dylusions art journal. So I think this is the last but one page. Yep, it certainly is. So we're going to go back to basics a little bit on this page, I think. I don't often use photos of myself in art journal pages, but I'm going to today just because I just fancied using a photo of me. So I've taken a picture and I've just modified it on my computer using Adobe Photoshop, but I can't decide whether to put it there on the page or whether to have it there on the page so that I can move and put some detailing over that side as well. Kind of do it half and half. Sorry, that was my phone just beeping. We've got to put it on silent. Sorry about that. I thought I'd done it earlier. But I think that's what I'm going to do. So I can creep over that side of the page as I normally do with some of my pages. I normally creep over. See, there was one I did a while ago. Is there a date on that one? Did I remember to write the date on it? January, there you go. Probably one of the first pages I did in January because I'd written 20 instead of 21. Still not used to the date. So 5 months later, I'm going to do another one. But this time, I didn't keep my glasses on for that one. But I'm going to for this one. And I'm going to pretty much do something similar, but not use... on that one, I think I used brushos and pigment powders. On this one, I'm going to use stains and paint. So that's what I'm going to do first of all. So to get started, I'm going to stick down the image on the page before I add anything, before I add any gesso, before I add anything else. So what I want to do is I want to just very carefully tear out and feather the edge. Now I've just used ordinary printing paper here. I haven't got any printable kind of rice paper, which would be an absolute godsend if you could actually get it thick enough to go through the printer without having to be stuck down onto a carrier sheet, but thin enough that it would disappear when added to glue and water. That would be the ideal, the holy grail if you like, of printer paper for your journals, because with that, if anybody could come up with anything like that, it would be absolutely amazing. And I know you can do image transfer and all that kind of stuff, but having a paper that actually did all that, that you could just put through and not have to worry about it without having to mess about doing image transfers, would be like, definitely would be like the holy grail, wouldn't it? So I'm just going to go around and roughly tear those edges like so. Throw the rest on the floor for the cleaner, and I might even actually maybe even encroach over onto that side of the page. Yeah, I think that will do. So I'm going to use some matte medium. I'm actually running out, so I'm going to be very, very careful. Ew, I hate it when that happens. You know, globs on the top. So I think rather than pouring, I'm going to dip straight into the jar because there's not a lot of that left. This is the stuff that sends my skin all dry when I touch it, so I'm going to try and avoid using it today. I'll try and avoid touching it today as much as I possibly can. I'm going to try and have a search on the internet to see if I can find another brand of matte medium, or maybe even get some of the Collage page, or the stuff that you use for, you know, sticking tissue paper down to the paper shaped animals and stuff that you can get, and see whether or not that works any better. So let's just drop that down about there, And then I can just work my way outwards from the centre of the image. Because this is ordinary printer paper, it is kind of thick. And I know I should have really painted the back. But I think we can get away with it. Probably won't get too many wrinkles. So we need to get right into the corner there. And then lift that up and just bring that over. So I did use my laser printer for this rather than the Epson one. The Epson one has run out of ink and I haven't had a chance to go to the shops to get some more. I don't like ordering it online because actually getting it from my local supermarket is cheaper. It actually works out a lot cheaper than actually ordering it online. Now that doesn't feel like it's sticking down there for some reason. Let's get some more down. So I said I wasn't going to try and touch it, but there you go, I've just gone ahead and touched it. Oh well, you win some, you lose some. Okay, so that's had a thorough soaking and coating of that, so let's get it dry. So it's been a few minutes. I did allow it to cool down as well. I've virtually got no wrinkles or bubbles in that whatsoever, which is cool. So before I add any kind of gesso or paint to the background, I want to add some texture. So I've got some structure paste. This is from a UK company called Imagination Crafts, but there are plenty others out there that sell structure and texture pastes. I know people have got their favourites. I don't particularly have a favourite. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come in with my bubble wrap stencil. So this is one of my designs which is on my website. So and I'm going to put some of that texture paste, just put that down on the mat there, and I'm going to just bring that in. It's not very flat spatula that at all. Let's try this one. But then again, I am actually working on a bit of a slant here. So I'm going to bring that down just over the edge of the paper, so it kind of hides that little tear bit there. So we'll add a little bit there. I'm going to add some on this side because I did say I wanted to bring that across. So we'll add a streak of that, that's better, down this side here. That will do just nicely, and then a tiny amount just along the bottom edge here. A bit croaky today. I obviously haven't had enough coffee yet, which I'll be able to remedy that in a short while. And I'm not bothered about getting a perfect, let's say a perfect scrape with that. I don't mind if it's a bit rough, I don't mind if it's a little bit bumpy, because that just adds to that kind of texture. Now it's important that you drop your stencils straight into water after using texture paste with them, because if it dries on there, you have a devil of a job trying to get it off. So I'm going to just quickly go and drop mine in the sink, start the drying process on that little bit, and then I'll be back. So the structure paste is now dry. Ta-da! I've also made myself a cup of coffee. I told you I wouldn't be long without having one. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more texture kind of into the background. So you could add, or I could use something out of my collection of washi tapes. all these kind of washi tapes just to peel and stick down. So we've got bits with writing on, bits with numbers on, there's some with brick walls on there, there's other detailed ones. Or if you haven't got any washi tape, you can always make your own or create something which looks like washi tape just out of pattern papers. So this is an old a sheet from an old dictionary, and all I'm going to do is just tear it into a thin line. Now you could use a straight edge if you wanted a perfect line or a better line than what I've got, or you can just tear it into strips, and then you can start layering, or you can stick them down. Let's just move the page so it's a bit straighter. So add your texture paste, not your texture paste, your strips onto the page that way. So if you wanted a bit of a straighter line, just grab a straight edge, like so. That'd be if I could lift it up, wouldn't it? And then just tear it using the edge. And then you've got a straighter line. If you wanted a thinner piece, obviously you just rip it again. You could use the lines on your ruler as a guide for how thin you want it, and tear it that way. Bearing in mind it's more difficult the thinner the paper is, so that's why I sometimes like to do it by hand. So I'm just tearing down there like that, and then you can just glue it down onto your page, and it looks like you've used washi tape, but actually you haven't. So it doesn't really matter, does it? Either way. So different ways to add texture, different ways to add a bit of interest into your backgrounds. So you can either rip, tear, use a straight edge, or actually use store-bought washi tape if you want to. It's a quick way of adding a little bit of texture in, background texture that is. So we'll have a piece up there, over there like that, and another piece maybe down here at the bottom. What does that say? Stark naked. Interesting. I wonder what that word was. Okay, so let's grab some more of that matte medium. I've got a pot of water just off to the side here where I'll just drop my brushes in, so we can add our glue just there. And then position it exactly where we want it to go. And then this piece up here. So when you lay your images down, like this one here, and you've got those raw torn edges, this is a great way of being able to hide them. You can also bring your texture paste over the page as well, to hide those torn edges if that's what you want. You don't have to do it that way. It's just one viable alternative, or suggestione, serving suggestion if you like. There we go. This is just a side page. This is the main focal page, so I'm going to add another small piece just going across the centre there, just to kind of carry it across. Like that. Use the brush to push it into the crease so that it will fold and close properly. And because we've used dictionary paper, the background, old dictionary paper, so it's kind of got that creamy kind of colour similar to the page that I'm putting down, so it does disappear quite nicely in there. Okay, so that's that next layer down. Let's get it dried. So those bits of dictionary paper are now dry. Just as an aside on that, paper is good to use with matte medium, that kind of stuff, because you can always tell when it's dry. When you wet it, it goes darker, like most things, and then when you're heat setting it, you always know when it's dry because it goes back to that same kind of colour again, back to the original pale colour. That's why I like to use paper in the background, because I can see and control how much heat I'm actually adding onto the page. But it's just one of those little side things. Right, so next I'm going to add some more texture, this time using another stencil. This one is called Diamond Lattice. Again, this is another one from my collection, another one on my website that's available. So I'm going to get some more structure paste. I'm going to add some of that now over the top of this and then down onto the page, just to get a bit more interest. So bit number one, and we'll add a little bit down here at the bottom. Like I said, I don't mind if it's not perfect. Doesn't need to be. And then we'll add another small bit over on this bit up here. Just wipe that up, so I'm going to end up getting my elbow in it. So again, I'm adding these things around in threes, creating that kind of visual triangle of interest. There we go. So it draws the eye around the page. So again, I need to get that straight into water. I told you I'd get my fingers in it. To make sure that it doesn't dry on the stencil, because otherwise it will be ruined. So I will get that dried and then I will be right back. Okay, so my stencils are cleaned. I should mention that I like to use an old toothbrush when I'm cleaning my stencils, so I can get in between all the details and stuff. If you haven't got a toothbrush, just an old paintbrush will work as well. But that's what I like to use to clean my stencils. So all that texture is now completely dry, so I'm ready to add some colour, which is why I've got my spray cloth, which is just an old tea towel, as we call them here in the UK, that I've used for spritzing and just collecting bits of stray colour rather than letting it drip all over the desk. So I've got some Distress Spray Stain, which is water reactive. Now don't forget, I haven't added any gesso onto this page. So I'm just going to add some spritzes of that colour all the way around. Now, bearing in mind that we have put matte medium on the image of me, so if there's any on there that I'm not particularly fond of, I can always just use the wipe just to lift it off, but also just to give that kind of background colour. So just use a baby wipe just to work the colour into the page, and you can see where your matte medium has been on the page. You can see, which is why I'm using dabbing motions, and then just wipe over the top. There we go. So as the first coat of colour, even though it now looks all brown and icky, it's actually exactly what I was looking for. First coat, first edition, if you like. Just lift a little bit off my face, and then if you want to, you can come in with a cleaner one and just keep lifting it. Because you've added that matte medium, it's kind of created a little bit of a resist. There we go. So that's my first kind of coating of colour. Okay, so that first kind of outing of the brown is all dry, so I want to start adding in some more colour into that. So I'm going to be using some of my other spritzers that I created using my pigment powders, and from now on there's going to be a fair bit of drying going on, and that just kind of softens that brown colour a little, kind of turns it a bit kind of chocolate limey. So now all the spritzers are dry, I want to add some more warmer colours into that. So I've gone into my Deco Art collection of acrylic paints and I've brought out the bright orange. So I'm going to just add some of that onto my worktop. Now, because this is an acrylic paint, it should lay flat and opaque on top of. It may react slightly to the green, which we've sprayed down, which is water based, so if we're careful we should be able to get away with not a lot of interaction. So I'm using another one of my stencils. This is the split circle stencil. Done me that way or that way, but I like it that way. And I'm going to just add some warm kind of circles of that orange, just using a craft sponge. And again, this really depends on how opaque your paint is. You can always mix it with white gesso if you want to, if you want it even more kind of opaque-y. And I'm just going to bring that colour in, just dab in with the sponge, and it'll just lighten that corner up a little bit. So again, if you want to, you can dry between coats. I'm not really all that bothered, so I'm going to put a little bit more down here. Just load up. And then just start adding some of that lovely colour over the top. I'm going to go right down to the bottom of the page, I think. And of course the beauty of this is that you can always come back in later and add a second coat over the top. So I'll go over to this side of the page now. Because this is one of those stencils that's easy to reposition, you can always come back in if you want and add another coat. Okay, so we'll do that over this side. I'm going to take that right out the other side of the page, which will help just to diffuse the page, just disappear lightly off into the distance, rather than there being a harsh line, like so. Maybe just another couple of pieces of that. I'm trying to do it without getting any of that paint. That's it. Let's just move that over there so you can see what I'm doing. So just bring some of that over here. And then just fade it away. Like that. Okay, so I want a little bit more. I'm going to add just a tad, just here on the page. So I'm going to have to be very, very careful. Just add just a tiny smidge of paint. Just work it into the sponge. Get rid of that now. We've got enough on the sponge to work with. And then I'm just going to put that circle just there. Just bring it down. Just like that. Very retro. Okay, let's get that dried off. So the orange paint has dried, so that's kind of brightened it up a little bit, but not enough. So what I want to do is I want to bring some white back into the foreground. So rather than just do some white splatters, I'm actually going to bring back in that bubble wrap stencil that we used there. It's all clean, well, cleanish anyway, as clean as it's going to get. And also I've got some Americana white, titanium white paint, which is the Snow White. So we'll add some of that onto the worktop. I have another piece of craft sponge. And again, this will react to the green and the brown. So it'll just lighten areas. It won't stay white because it will react to that paint, the stains. But it will lighten it, but not by a huge amount. If I'd used all paint, then it would have done. So let's add a little bit of that down here onto my shirt. And again, I'm pretty much throwing everything at this art journal page. So stenciling texture, spritzers, paint, stains, you name it, which I haven't done in an art journal page for quite some time. Throwing everything at it. It's nice to get back to messy. After doing quite a lot of collage, which I've been kind of fixated on over the past few weeks and months, but you know, as they say, a change is as good as a rest. There we go. Okay, so let's get that dried. Okay, so just as a final touch for the page, I want to just bring in some turquoise paint. So I'm going to use the Dina Wakley Media Turquoise. I could use the new Tim Holtz Salvaged Patina. As you can see, they're very, very, very similar in colour. Just saying. Anyway, so I'm going to just bring in a little bit of that turquoise, and I've got a small dry brush. Did have somewhere. I buried it amongst all of the bits and pieces on my. I've put it somewhere. I've put it somewhere. I can't find it. Typical. Let's see if I can find another one. Okay, found it. There we go. It had rolled onto the floor. I'm just going to pick up a real small amount of that paint until it's warm here today, can't you? It's already started to get skin on it. And then I'm going to just lightly start dragging it down some of that texture. Cut the edge of the page then. It's almost just like dry brushing. You're just picking up the edges of the raised points. Well, it's not just like dry brushing, it is dry brushing. It just adds a little bit of extra dimension . And just keep adding it until you're happy. Or I'm going to keep on adding it until I'm happy. Bring it down that way now. Just adding just a little bit of kind of patina into the page. Just added a little bit of a pop of different colour. So we've got a pop of the orange, and then we've got the pop of this fabulous kind of turquoisey colour. Like I said, you can just carry on adding it and layering it until you're happy. What's that? Is it a Michael Jackson song or Jackson 5? Don't stop till you get enough. Get a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very, very gently now just start dry brushing a little bit onto the page. So I drag it down a bit further. Just to kind of create a little bit of distress. We forgot about that bit up there, didn't we? I say we. I think I'm a bit happy with the grunginess of it all. I think on that note, I'm going to put the paintbrush down, have a quick tidy up, dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, so just quickly, do you remember when I said earlier that I was happy with the page? Well, I lied. I think it just needs some more of that white in the foreground. So again, I'm just going to mix a little bit of white paint. I know this is going to dye back in certain areas, so I just think it needs it. Maybe a little bit more water. I need a clip just to hold that page down to stop it from forcing the paint to run. So I'll just pop a clip in the corner. There we go, that's better. Sometimes you need more than one hand. And it will dye back. It won't be quite as stark as what it looks like. But it's also knowing when to stop, and I think that'll do. Okay, everything's now dry, so you can see those splatters are there still. They're still up here, but where they've landed over here and here, they've kind of disappeared a little bit. There's still a few up there as well. So I did say it would dye back a bit, but it just helps to lift it slightly. I know there's a lot going on this page. A lot going on this page, but you know, sometimes it's okay. So what I'm going to do now is just add a final kind of accent to the page, and I'm just going to use one of the quick phrases from the Tim Holtz quote chips, and I'm just going to add some glue onto the back, and I'm going to place that down just about there. So there's that little bit of text underneath. I don't know whether you can see it. And it's just above these kind of pieces of texture. And that's going to stay there until it dries. So I don't want to try and disturb it, but I'm obviously conscious that this video has gone on for quite some time now. So I'm just going to grab a 4D ball pen, make sure it works, and then just over here I'm going to sign it. Actually, let's do it up here. And date it, and today is the 8th of May 21. There we go. And then I'm going to call this page done, because there's not a lot much more I could do with it. I don't think. Anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed watching me put that page together. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Get rid of that clip. Come on. There we go. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.